Today's video, I'm going to show you how to make an enclosure for your laser. Now, I have this one here, which is the AlgoLaser DIY kit MK2. You wouldn't use it without any kind of like extraction fan or enclosure because it just creates way too much smoke. I have made a few enclosures before. For example, on the right here, we have the Niji Max 4. This is a wider version of the diode laser. And then we have the Laser Packer 4. This is more like a laser mounted on top. It's like a fiber laser, but it's not really a fiber laser. It's just a diode laser with some mirrors. So hopefully I can show you step by step on how I create enclosure for this. Now this machine eventually will go to my sister who uses it for her business. Every time I post a video of my laser on the internet, people will ask, oh, can you give me the drawing or can you show me how you do the enclosure? You can buy one actually. Not that expensive, but I just like to build stuff. So, this is part of being my hobby. And I don't usually have drawings, so it's better for me to just video what I'm doing so you guys can have a look and maybe use it as a starting point. This one here, almost like a square, but it's slightly longer than wider. So what I usually do is I usually make a base for it first with a piece of material which is flat. I tend to like to use MDF, and sometimes if I chip out, if I have furniture left over, then I will use the furniture instead. At the moment I don't have any furniture to dismantle, so this one is actually an IKEA table upside down. The legs are actually inside at the moment, and you can still see the legs over there. Let's not get too overly excited about recycling or upcycling. So here I have a piece of MDF. This one is 1829 by 607. So this is kind of like half a piece of the full-size board. I tend to get material like this because it's easier for me to work on. I'm going to slide this under the machine. Hopefully it's big enough. Oh, very tight. Very tight. Should be okay because I'm going to have a skin outside anyway. It just means that I have to build the wall on the outside. I'm going to draw a line somewhere around here, probably just before the machine here. Here I mark up 71 centimeters or 710, and then 710 over there as well. So now I need to do one cut across. So this will be my first cut, and the MDF is 12 mil thick. The base is always the most important part because I always build from the base up. I got some 2B1 here timber, and I'm going to start framing the board up. What I mean by framing is I'm going to build 3 sides so that I can use this to attach another piece of thin ply on top as the skin. If I open up my box here, you can see that the side is not actually a full piece of thick material, it's just a frame, and then you got a thin piece of ply attached to it. There is a reason for this because the couple of cases that I make before, I use full sheets material and it becomes so heavy that you just can't move it. And this kind of enclosure, we are not designing for it to withstand anything on top, so there's no point making it out of thick material. All you want to do is keep the smoke out, so as long as it's airtight, it will be fine. Now because the base is square, all we need to do is cut another piece of the same length. I'm not going to use the tape measure again. I'm just going to draw onto this piece. So now we have the 2 side button. This is the base of the frame, and I have another piece going across on the back, so this is all 3 sides. I will leave the front open because I want the lid to be closing onto the front here with the skin on. It will make a lot more sense when I finish it, and I usually make it at least 2/3 of the way to the back, so when you open, 2/3 of the top will be the lid, and you still got a space at the back here for that. I don't like the whole thing going up and then the hinge at the back. Just not really practical. So now we attach this to the side of the MDF. Now to make it a secure bond, I usually do glue and screws. But today I'm feeling super lazy, so I'm going to do nails and glue. Okay, with the nail and the glue, it's actually strong enough for you to move it around. But obviously it does need to set overnight. So once I got the tray, if I show you the laser engraver on top of it, the laser engraver will sit inside like this. Now all we need to do is make sure that we have the top. Now you should end up something like this. Now let me explain, it looks a bit complicated. So you got a tray underneath here which I built with you in the last few minutes. And then now you have all these pieces which I lay on top. So if I take this one away, all you're left with is actually a top frame. I can actually hold this up for you guys to see, look. Yeah, so it's not attached at the moment. Basically, this is just one big square. If you imagine you have legs which raise it up to the heights that you want, now you have a box. But we want the top to be able to open, so you have access inside. And that is why we're going to break this frame into two separate frames. And the easiest way to do it is have another two pieces of the length, which is the same as the inner part of those two. And we leave it over here. So now we have the flexibility of how big do you want the lid in the front. So this is entirely up to you. So I go with the 2/3. So I want 2 parts in here and 1 part at the back. And that's how I usually do it. So now I'm going to do some measurement, measure out where I want to cut these 2 joints. Now as soon as you cut them, there will be a bit shorter than it's supposed to be, but don't worry, because that will be the hinge part anyway. As long as the hinge part is kind of airtight, it doesn't really matter if there is a little gap there. You can always like seal it from the inside. So I measure to the back. So this is 240mm from the back, and this is where I want the hinge to be. So the lid actually open up in the top. If you leave the lid too close to the front, then you end up having to like slot in. I think this is quite a good compromise. It's not that strong. So a little bit bold. Now the wood here is a little bit bold, so I use it for the inside. Okay, so now we can do the uprights. So basically we're going to lift that up like this and make them into an enclosure. In terms of opening, there's going to be a hinge on here. And then when you open, the lid actually lifts up like that. Obviously it will be higher because the box is going to be end up like that. Now you're thinking about the skin, which way it overlap. I like the top overlapping the side. Even though the material is only 2mm, you don't want it to have a seam. So what I usually do is I measure now how much of a height I need on the side, and I make this into one piece. Now there is a bit of a madness to the organization right here. So I cut 2 pieces of the thin pie, which could be the skin of the box. And I purposely cut it to the length of the side right here so I can start mounting it on the side. And I mount it on the other side as well. So now you can get a sense of how big the box is, because that is almost to the top on both sides. Now the skin on its own will not be strong at all, but once it kind of like nailed to the frame and glued to the frame, and it will be super strong. So now with the skin on the side, you can actually give it some strength. You don't necessarily need to tie down the top and this one here. I do have some L brackets that I can do, but actually as soon as you fix it to the skin, and then another skin on the back, and then this will be rock solid. So with all the side screw to the thin piece of pie, it's actually give it a lot of strength already. It can still kind of move sideways a little bit, but once you square it up with one piece of pie here, then it becomes solid. And then another piece of thing on top, and then this is not going to go anywhere. The last piece going on, again, glue and screws. Now piece by piece, you box it in. Another piece go up here. Slightly larger than what I need because I want it to overspill a bit. Then I can sand the edges down. But these are all the parts which will not move at all. This one I can stable because you got buttons inside, so they will not show through. Done. I like it when it's easy. So now I want one piece of the thin pie for the top layer, and I need it from edge to the front plus another little bit for covering the front, because the front here will be another piece of pie covering here, so I need it to be a little bit over to cover the edge to the exact measurement. Now the exact measurement is 48.5, so if I do a 490, that should be enough to cover the front lip. Obviously the width is the same as the other piece which I cut. So make sure the splinter is off the edge. I'm wearing gloves so I don't mind. Usually I'll use sandpaper, but since I'm doing this project like this, I'm going to sand all the edges later on to make it nice. So this piece sits on top, which is movable. Slot it all the way to the back. So you see there is a little bit of lip here, so the next piece go in the front here, and it's going to be covering the lip, so it will sit flush. So hinge needs to go on here. Oh, not a nail comes through, which is good. So now it looks really like a box now, isn't it? But it looks really dark when it's closed, but it's still light because it's not really full sheets of timber. It's only pie skin, so you can still move it around. So the window has arrived. I ordered it from perspecsheets.uk. Obviously you can get it from anywhere in the world. The one I got is dark green tinted, just like the one that come with the safety glasses, but I wouldn't rely on that to save your eyes. Make sure you still wear your laser glasses. This is just so that you can peek through the window. So I think I got the measurement a bit wrong. So this thing is a bit too small for the front, but to be honest with you, I don't mind because I still need to build a frame for this from the inside, so I can't have it at the full length anyway. In fact, if you really want, you can get a piece of acrylic, which is like, you know, the whole of the front or the whole of the top, but that is another kind of a design idea. So with a laser cutter, that's easy enough. So my 20-watt laser, 500 speed, 100% power at 3 bar of air pressure. I did it in one pass. And now I have a hole which is slightly smaller than the acrylic sheets. I still got the cover on because I don't want to scratch it. Okay, first of all, my apologies. I don't have high-tech screen overlay, so you just have to deal with my crappy video shot of my monitor. But anyway, so my bigger window is 400 by 250. So what you do is you draw a rectangle. Doesn't matter what size, you just draw one, and then you change it onto by typing in the number. So make sure the lock is unlocked, and then you type in 400 by 250. So now this is the exact size of the Perspex. Now I don't want to cut a hole as big as the Perspex, or else the Perspex will just like fall through. So you want the hole to be slightly smaller. You can adjust it from here, but what I find easiest is actually use the offset button. So shape, offset shape. If you click on that and choose inwards, and then you can choose how much space you want between your Perspex and the middle of the hole that you're going to cut. So this is set to 5. Let's say I want a slightly bigger lip around the area. So let's go with 10. So now they're going to cut a hole which is 10 mil from the from the original size, which is, I think, is a really handy way to do this. Now you have two lines. What you can do is you click on the outer line, which is the bigger square, and then you go to your layers and then you hide it. But you need to change it to a different color first. It doesn't matter. So I move this one down. Now is the part that you have to move this to match where you want to cut. So guys, don't do this at home. I'm only doing this to show you guys what the machine can help you with. Always cut when the piece is not like attached to the box. Now when this shoots through, the laser is going to shoot through into the enclosure inside. But don't worry, I got my fire extinguisher ready. This is a bit of a danger money. It's going to be smoke everywhere as well. But anyway, so now I'm going to press frame on the computer, and then it will draw an outline of where it's going to cut. I'm going to move the laser head back down a bit because I need it to drop closer to the work surface. That's the cable management problem right there. So I know I have this problem, but I haven't fixed it yet because I want it to be in the enclosure before I fix it. Always run the machine and until you're happy before you start your project. So this basically, the wire touches the end stop, and that will cause a bit of problem. Okay, I'm happy with that. So I know when I burned, underneath is going to have a smaller hole than the perspex, and I can actually fill the hole with that without too much gap. Okay, so I set the machine to half the power of my 20-watt laser. I'm going to remove this piece without disturbing anything. And if by any luck, it will cut through in 1 or 2 passes, usually 2 passes. And yeah, I want a hole here, and I got my extractor fan over there. I probably have to manually move it over where it's going to cut. And I'm ready to press the emergency stop at any point. There's nothing coming through the bottom. There's smoke coming through the bottom though. I might need to do some creative thing with my exhaust. All the smoke is coming from the bottom of the piece, not from the top for some reason. Does it mean it cuts through already? Yeah, it is. I can see the light. Obviously with my goggles on. Oh my god. With my goggles on I can't see it, so the laser is actually coming through to the bottom. I think you guys can see it. Yeah, it's actually showing on the camera. This is crazy. Definitely danger runny right there. But remember guys, when you have your glasses on, you can't see the blue light. You think that it's not cutting through, but actually cuts through. So luckily I didn't put my hands in the path of that laser. It might not completely cut through, but it is actually. And another interesting fact is that the laser dot is never a true circle. So when this is moving along the x-axis, it cuts through, but when you move to y-axis, it doesn't. So the y-axis probably need another run. After it does the last bit of cut, I think it will just fall right through. I really like the air assist modification that I did. I think it's working really well. Oh, there we go, I can hear that. Voila! So now I have a lid with a window, and then I can stick the perspex from the inside, and then I can seal it with silicone. Now, because my material is only 3.6 mil, it's very hard to drill through, so you don't really have a mechanical fix. So what I would like to do is I usually print something like this. This is just an L shape or pieces of wood, and then you put it at each corner of the perspex. And then when you silicone around it and when you use glue around it, it gives it a lot more holding power than just the piece of thing lying on top and relying on the little lip to hold it together. So now we're going to cut a hole here for the extract and then get some thin material to make up a kind of a slot so it can slide in and then attach. So now we have our exhaust pot. Lovely. Now my design for this flange is very simple. So I have two cuts out, one bigger opening which is perfect for putting the slot in, and this thickness and this thickness is about the same. It doesn't have to be exact. It should be enough for friction holding it, and then another piece with a smaller diameter of the actual collar. Now screw it down or fix it down to your enclosure, but this one must be strong, and then whenever you need to put on your exhaust, you just slide it on and it perfects every time. But then if you only have one machine, then you can just screw it down onto the top without going through all this trouble. So here I wire up some 12-volt LED strip. Nothing fancy, but sometimes when you close the enclosure, even you have a window, it's nice to have some light coming from inside so you can see things. And I have wired it so it can be connected through one of these 12-volt adapter thing. So later on when I drill a hole at the back of the box, I can just put this through. Now it's time to drill some holes to feed the cables through. So the machine is going to sit like this. The controller is here, so I want all my cables to be on this side of the box. So I'm going to have the exit somewhere here. The easiest way for me to do is drill a small hole first, roughly at the corner of where I want the cables to feed through. And then I can use my hole saw bit to drill a bigger hole for all the cables to go through. Now you have a massive hole here, then you want to put a grommet on it so that the wire doesn't go like catch on the side. And in my own experience is that, you know, the less air leak the better, because you want to control where the air is coming into the box and then exhaust on the top. So what I usually do is I have this leftover foam from packaging. So I cut a circular disc which is bigger than the hole, and then I kind of cut a slit along the edge like that, and then you slip it on like a pair of socks in between the edges. It doesn't have to be neat, but it does have to fit through all the way around. Sometimes you have to trim it down a bit, but you want it to be a snug fit. So you've got a lip on both sides. The foam is quite forgiving, so you know you don't really have to be exact. Give it a turn and the wood actually cuts into the foam. You can trim it nicely, but I wouldn't bother. So now all you need to do is cut a small, maybe like a cross. So that when you feed the wire through, it kind of very snug fit. Ah, okay, that is that might not be the best thing on telly, but yeah, so there you go. That's my little tip for you. Now time to put some hinges on the lid. It'd be nicer if you have those long strip hinge, but I'm just using what I have around my studio here, which is this simple kind of a hinge. Space them out evenly, and you want to have a strong solid connection because I'm going to have some gas strut which will keep the lid open when it is like not when you open the lid. I want this to be like open, so the hinge needs to be able to support the kind of the weight of the lid. Okay, now it looks a lot more like an enclosure or a big box. A big creaking noise, but it's solid. There's a little bit twisting, but as long as the strut is on both sides, I think it will turn out perfect. Now the last piece of the puzzle is actually the door. I haven't constructed the door yet because I want to leave it until the last minute. So basically I need to attach this to the lid here, but it's too flimsy, so you need to have some support underneath so you can see this wobbling. So I'm going to actually make a frame all the way around, and then reinforce the corner so when you use it to open the box, it's not going to shake or anything like that. So now I'm doing some cabling tidy up, so I don't want cable to be around the burn area. So you got your USB-C cable and you got your power cable. So they're going to be routed at the bottom alongside the left side of the case. Air hose, I change it to this air hose here because the original one is too inflexible. It's too short anyway for what I needed to do. And I purposely made this quick connector so that, you know, if you need to take the machine out of the box, you're not tied down to it. So all this is kind of extension cable rather than the manufacturing cable. Yeah, so the back of the case is a bit busy. So you got your power strip here. So this is going to be powering the lights, the machine, and the air assist as well. But the air assist, I can't decide if I want to mount it here or not, because the control for the power is quite short at the power lead here. So this one here controls the amount of air going through, and this is the air hose. So I have another quick connector here, so it connects to the back of the box. But this one here, if I put it at the back of the case, the control is a bit too far to reach for my sister in the front. So I'll leave this one out for her to decide where she wants to mount this. But the idea is that if she do need to take the laser out of the box, she can, and then it will still function. This is not tied down, this is just double-sided tape down to keep everything nice and tidy. So after all that hard work making the enclosure, now we can do a few fun projects in the comfort of my studio without the smoke and the noise and all that stuff. So here I have a few photos, my holiday photos. I printed them in a square formats because that is beginner friendly. They are all 9 centimeters by 9 centimeters or 90 mil. And I also got some thin plywood here. I purposely choose this plywood, not the laser ply, because obviously this will be the harder material to cut. But for a 10-volt laser with an air assist, it should have no problem cutting them through. So we are on light burn, and what we want to do is we want to set the size of your picture frame. So I do a square here. Now it doesn't matter what size you do at the moment because I'm going to change it from here. Make sure I unlock the ratio. And I'm going to type in 10 or 100 and 100. So that will give me the overall size of a square. Okay, so this is the picture frame size, the overall size of the picture frame. And you need to give it a setting. Now I'm going to do my design phrase right here, and then I worry about cutting them and all that in a moment. Now I want to have one base piece which is this size, but I also want the frame size equivalent. So what I can do is I can copy and actually I can do duplicate. So now I have two. Now this piece here, what I want to do is I actually want the frame to be smaller, for example. So what I can do is I can go to offset and do inwards, and then you do the width distant offset to the inside. Now the bigger the number, the smaller the square in the middle. Don't forget the middle is what you cut out, so you will end up with a wooden frame, and that is where you go to mount your picture behind this frame and on top of the base. How thick you want the frame is entirely up to you, but we have to have the inner square at least 90, at least smaller than 90 millimeter. So when we do the inward offsets of 10, when we click on the inside square, you can tell the width is 80. So that means that our picture will fit inside of this square with a bit of overlap on the outside, which is great. This is what we need. Now we're going to set the power for this cut. Now previously I did manage to cut at 250, which is really slow actually, 250 at 95%. I never go 100 for some reason. I don't trust this kind of budget machine. On my Niji Max 4 I always max it 100 because I know they have a very good heat dispersion, but this one I'm not sure, so I do 95 and 200. I will need at least 2 passes to cut through. And what I want to do is I want to reduce wastage, so I want to make sure they're as close together as possible. And I'm going to feed the long piece, so because this is quite a long piece. So my enclosure is, the wall is on these two sides, the lid is on here. So what I want to do is I want to align them like that. So here is my lovely enclosure. I'm going to open the lid right here. So now I need to put the material through here, and then it will get burned here. So that seems to be fine. So now I will do the focusing of the laser. Now with this 10-watt laser at 250 millimeter per minute at 95%, even the first cut, I already can see that the laser is going through the wood and hitting the honeycomb and the metal base, which is a good sign. So you can tell that, you know, the first pass the laser is already going through. Although it might not go through everything because sometimes you have some glue or harder layer in the plywood. But the second cut should go through completely. And this particular machine, when you move along the horizontal or the x-axis, is actually stronger because of the dot shape. So you got more laser out of x-axis than y. So if the first cut is the y and it's going through, then the x-axis they must be going through as well. There you go, clean cut. A bit sharp to the underneath side, but it's okay, we use the front side anyway. We need to give it a bit of clean. And we got another square, which is not wasted because we can make something out of this later. Okay, ready for second round. This time I can close the lid. Okay, so this is the top view of the laser. You can see that it's creating a lot of smoke right now, but there is zero smoke in my studio. And this is just by design. So air coming in from here towards the front of the machine. And also on this side. And everything gets extracted to the outdoor by that extractor fan to the window outside. For me personally, the biggest upgrade that you can do with this particular machine is the nozzle. Change the nozzle size, and also You don't have to use the air assist like that. You can actually use a proper compressor. So my laser is connected to my compressor, which is a lot more power. Will give you a lot cleaner cut, and you can get away with a much faster speed as well. Okay, let's say if you don't want to use construction pie and you want to use something like a laser material. So here I got like a very thin material. This is from Temu, and this is exactly 10 centimeter by 10 centimeters. So I don't need to cut a square out, but I do need to cut the frame. So here we go. Now because it's so thin, it doesn't take a lot of power. So 500 is fine. Let me close some of the lid. At least don't want to inhale all the fumes. So if you use this kind of a thin material, I'm using 500 millimeter per minute and 95% power. I'll probably overkill as well, but I want to make sure I only need to cut it once. What I need to do is line up the picture to the middle of each of these squares and then put the frame over. Yeah, maybe put a bit of color to it, but I want to do something which make it even more special. Okay, now we can put them together. I have made some little logos for each of the destination where we went to. That kind of spice things up a little bit. And then now we can glue them down and maybe add some color to it as well. I have some markers, I have some color pens. Now it's time to get a bit creative. So here is my laser cut engraved photo frame. There is one more step and then it's complete. So here I have some magnetic sticker and I'm going to use the laser machine to cut out 4 squares. So these are the magnetic sticker, and I cut it with the 10-volt laser at 800 speed and 95% power. When it cuts, it leaves a lot of these like broken edges. So usually you have to clean it up a lot. But what the good thing is that you can actually cut with a blade if you want. Probably a lot cleaner as well. But since I have a laser demonstration, I may as well use it to cut the shapes. I guess I'd stick it down first and then clean it up. I should just use the blade. So thank you very much for watching. I really enjoy building my own enclosure. I do find the purpose of kind of customizing what I need. In this case, what my sister might need. And I also like to overcome problems that come with the standard machine, for example, like cabling and such. And yeah, can't wait to see you next time with more interesting gadget. Bye bye.